Hello, welcome to Cloud Channel. In this module, we will talk about AWS Glue. In this module, we will discuss about what is AWS Glue, how it works, and when should we use AWS Glue. And we will talk about some of the AWS Glue concepts, about the architecture, and we'll also discuss about what are the data sources that AWS Glue supports, and I will show you how to run an ETL job using AWS Glue. I will do that using Amazon Management Console. I will run an ETL job from Amazon S3 and create mapping and load it into different folder in Amazon S3. Let's talk about what is AWS Glue. AWS Glue is a fully managed ETL service that makes it simple and cost-effective to categorize our data, clean it, enrich it, and move it reliably between various data stores and data streams. AWS Glue consists of a central metadata repository known as the AWS Glue Data Catalog, an ETL engine that automatically generates Python or Scala code, and a flexible scheduler that handles dependency resolution, job monitoring, and retires. AWS Glue is serverless, so there is no infrastructure to set up or manage. AWS Glue is designed to work with semi-structured data. It introduces a component called dynamic frame, which we can use in our ETL scripts. A dynamic frame is similar to an Apache Spark data frame, which is a data abstraction used to organize data into rows and columns, except that each record is self-describing, so no schema is required initially. We can use the AWS Glue console to discover data, transform it, and make it available for search and querying. We can also use the AWS Glue API operations to interface with AWS Glue services. When should we use AWS Glue? We can use AWS Glue to organize, cleanse, validate, and format data for storage in a data warehouse or data lake. We can transform and move AWS cloud data into our data store. We can also load data from disparate static or streaming data sources into our data warehouse or data lake for regular reporting and analysis. By storing data in a data warehouse or data lake, we integrate information from different parts of our business and provide a common source of data for decision making. Amazon Glue simplifies many tasks when we are building a data warehouse or data lake. It discovers and catalogs metadata about our data stores into a central catalog. We can process semi-structured data such as clickstream or process log. AWS Glue populates the AWS Glue data catalog with table definitions from scheduled crawler programs. AWS Glue generates ETL scripts to transform, flatten, and enrich our data from source to target. It detects schema changes and adapts based on our preferences. We can change the mapping if we want, so it detects schema changes automatically and adapts based on our preferences. AWS Glue triggers our ETL jobs based on a schedule or event. So I will show you how to schedule or how to run that ETL job when we are in that AWS Management Console. We can initiate jobs automatically to move our data into our data warehouse or data lake. And triggers can be used to create a dependency flow between jobs. And also AWS Glue gathers runtime metrics to monitor the activities of our data warehouse or data lake. It handles errors and retries automatically. We can use AWS Glue when we run serverless queries against our Amazon S3 data lake. AWS Glue can catalog our Amazon Simple Storage Service data, making it available for querying with Amazon Athena and Amazon Redshift Spectrum. We can create event-driven ETL pipelines with AWS Glue. We can run our ETL jobs as soon as new data becomes available in Amazon S3 by invoking our AWS Glue ETL jobs from an AWS Lambda function. We can use AWS Glue to understand our data sets. We can store our data using various AWS services and still maintain a unified view of our data using the AWS Glue data catalog. Let's talk about AWS Glue Environment. And before we talk about architecture, let's talk about what are the data sources that AWS Glue support. AWS Glue support data stores, Amazon S3, Amazon Relational Database Service, that is Amazon RDS, and third-party JDBC accessible databases and Amazon DynamoDB. And also AWS Glue supports data streams such as Amazon Kinesis data streams and Apache Kafka. And what are the data targets that AWS Glue supports? It supports data stores Amazon S3, Amazon RDS, and third-party JDBC accessible databases. AWS Glue uses other AWS services to orchestrate our ETL jobs to build data warehouses and data lakes and generate output streams. AWS Glue calls API operations to transform our data, create runtime logs, store our job logic, and create notifications to help us monitor our job runs. I will show you how to do all this, how to create ETL job and how to create a crawler, how to create a database, and how to run the job and how to monitor, how do we check the log. I will show you in a few minutes. And let's talk about AWS Glue Environment. We define jobs in AWS Glue to accomplish the work that is required to extract, transform, and load data from a data source to a data target. We perform the actions for data store sources. We define a crawler to populate our AWS Glue data catalog with metadata table definitions. We point our crawler at a data store, and the crawler creates table definitions in the data catalog. For streaming sources, we manually define data catalog tables and specify data stream properties. In addition to table definitions, the AWS Glue data catalog contains other metadata that is required to define ETL jobs. We use this metadata when we define a job to transform our data. AWS Glue can generate a script to transform our data, or we can provide the custom script. If we have, we can upload that custom script, or we can use AWS Glue script. We can run our job on demand, or we can set it up to start when specified trigger occurs. And let's talk about some of the AWS Glue terminology. What is AWS Glue Data Catalog? The persistent metadata store in AWS Glue. AWS Glue Data Catalog is persistent metadata store in AWS Glue. It contains table definitions, job definitions, and other control information to manage our AWS Glue environment. What is connection? A connection is a data catalog object that contains the properties that are required to connect to a particular data store. What is crawler? Crawler is a program that connects to a data store, progresses through a prioritized list of classifiers to determine the schema for our data, and then creates metadata tables in the Aws Glue data catalog. What is a database? What is database? Database is a set of associated data catalog table definitions organized into a logical group. What is a table? The metadata definition that represents our data. A table is a metadata definition that represents our data. Whether our data is in Amazon S3 file or an Amazon relational database service table or another set of data, a table defines the schema of our data. A table in the AWS Glue data catalog consists of the names of columns, data type definitions, partition information, and other metadata about a base data set. What is trigger? A trigger initiates an ETL job. Triggers can be defined based on a schedule time or an event. What is transform? The core logic that is used to manipulate our data into a different format. I will log into AWS Management Console. I will show you how to create this crawler, how to create an ETL job, and how do we move the data from source to target. I'm in AWS Management Console. I will go to all services and I will go to our here I can see that recently visited services. I will just go to AWS Glue, or you can also use this search button to find the service. So here I will go to S3 first. I will upload my data and I will create a bucket. So I will create a new bucket. I will say a glue source data 01. I will say bucket source data 01 and region US East, and I will disable this all public access, and I acknowledge that the current settings might result in this bucket and the objects within becoming public. I'm okay with that. Let me create a bucket. So now I can see that my new bucket is available in S3. Now I will go to this bucket glue source data 01, and I will create one folder. I will say this is source data 01 and create the folder, and I will create one more folder. I will say target data 01. Now I have these two folders available under this bucket glue source data, and I will open this source data folder and I will upload my data, my movies data. Now it is uploaded. Now I will go to home and click on AWS Glue. So now I will go to crawlers, and I already have one available. I will just remove this and I will create a new crawler. I will say glue crawler 01, and we already discussed what is a crawler. A crawler is a program that connects to a data store, progresses through a prioritized list of classifiers to determine the schema for our data, and then creates metadata tables in the AWS Glue data catalog. Now I will go to next and crawler source type, data stores, and crawl all folders and click on next and choose a data store S3, and this is where our data exists. And I will go to folder, and this is my bucket glue source data, and my file is available under this source data folder. I will select this file, movies data, and click on next. Add another data store. No. Now I need to create a service role. I will say I am AWS Glue job 1 role 01. Click next. And here we can see the frequency, and we can create a schedule for this crawler, run on demand or hourly, daily, we can choose it. So now I want to keep this run on demand as frequency. Next. And I need to create a database. I don't have any databases available. So we discussed what is a database. A database is a set of associated data catalog table definitions organized into a logical group. I will say database 01, database 01, and create this database and click on next. So here we can see the complete crawler info, our crawler name, glue crawler 01, and this is our source data store. We have file exist in S3, and I created a role, I am role, and schedule is run on demand, and output is database 01, and finish this crawler. Now I will click on this crawler and run the crawler. So the crawler is starting. Now I will go to under ETL, we can see jobs. I will click on jobs. And I have one job available. I'll just delete this job. I will create a new one and add a job. So here I will say glue job 01, and I will choose the role AWS Glue Service role 1. And here we can see that Glue version Spark 2.4 and Python 3. And because that Glue automatically provide us the script, or we can also update our own script. So here we can see that a proposed script generated by AWS Glue or existing script that we provide, so anything work. And let's click on advanced properties, monitoring options, tags, and everything looks okay. And maximum and job timeout, I will just keep it 25 minutes, and I will click on next. So here under the data stores, we don't see any tables, so I think it takes a few minutes to refresh this. So now I will click on next and see if it is updated. Now I can see that my file is available, so I can choose this file as the data source and click on next and change schema of our source data and create a new target data set. Yes, I will just keep this change schema. And the data target that I need to choose the create tables. Yeah, I will just use these use tables in the data catalog and update our data target. and click on next. So here we can see that the output schema definition verify the mappings created by AWS Glue, and change mappings by choosing other columns with map to target. So we can change the mappings if we want, and we can clear or reset or add column. But I'll just click on this save job and edit script. So here on the left side, we can see that database name, database 01, and table name, movies data underscore text. And applying transform name is apply mapping. And we can also edit if we want to, or we can run this job. So I will click on run job. So now the job is running. So I'm back at AWS Glue page. So here I go to jobs, and here we can always check the details of our job. So here is the history. If we want to check the logs, we can check the logs and error log files. Everything is available. And here are the details, the name of our job and the role we choose, the language we choose. And this is the script. We can always edit the script. And if we want to make any changes, we can always edit. We can always make changes using that option. So I will come back. So this is how we can create ETL job. We can extract data from source and load it in the target. So far in this module, we discussed about what is AWS Glue and how it works and when should we use AWS Glue. And we also discussed about the AWS Glue environment and the architecture. And also we discussed some of the AWS Glue terminology. And we uploaded data into S3, and we created crawler and created a job and load data from source to target, that is S3 to S3. And if you have any questions on this AWS Glue, please post in the comments. If you like this video, please subscribe and share the channel. Thank you.